Kadosh Boker Or. Daf Yomi Masechet Shevuot Daf Kavbet Amud Aleph. We're 22a1, but we're just starting on Kaf Aleph Amud Bet 21a B on the bottom. 21 not a B. 21b on the bottom. The last two lines where it is the two dots. Amru lo Rabbi Akiva, or actually starts three lines up and then it continues with two lines down. Okay. Amru lo Rabbi Akiva. They told Rabbi Akiva. So the Chachamim come and they tell Rabbi Akiva, Hechal matzinu. Where do we find in any place that you're going to be chayav when you eat mashu? So to minute, we know that usually any time when it says achila in the Torah, it means a kezait, right? By the way, you should know that even means on Shabbat, meaning that when somebody comes and says you should eat meat on Shabbat, it means a kezait. When somebody says you should have, why? Yeah, of course, because whenever it's written, right, achila, that you have a mitzvah of achila on Shabbat of meat, right? So you should have a kezait. Right, just like bread, you can't have less than a kazait. There's no bigger mazon. You're not using chovat seudah. So too, the meat or anything like that. Whenever we're talking about achila, achila means equal shaveh kezait. Ma? No, yesh mitzvah. לא אמרתי דורייתא. לא אמרתי דורייתא. יש לך מצווה של עונג שבת. יש מחלוקת אם זה דורייתא או דרבנן. אבל יש לך מצווה של... אז כשכתוב שיש לך מצווה של עונג שבת, של בשר, אתה יוצא לחובה באכילה של כזית. למה? כל אכילה בתורה זה כזית. השאלה של חכמים כנגד רבי עקיבא זה, where do we find anywhere in the Torah that אכילה is בכל שהוא? That's what they ask. So says the Gemara, ולא? What about נמלה? Remember, we already learned in Makot that when a person comes and eats a nemala, even without eating a kezait, he's going to be chayav malkut. We said over there 5 malkuts and this and that. So therefore, right? So therefore, there you're going to be chayav even without a full kezait. Yeah? So he comes and he says, right? Bidya shane. Says no. Bidya is different than anything else. What does that mean? When a person comes and he eats a bidya, he eats a full-fledged I don't know you want to call it in English, a creation, right? Or a creature, right? He eats something, right? Something in a whole. When you eat something whole, so then it's special. Why? It's not a kazait. Well, you would have to put 5 ants. Not even. You probably have to put much more, right? Whatever, how many ants, right? So therefore, 1 ant is a bidya. Exactly. So imagine how many ants? Hundreds. Yeah. So he says, varegdesh. What about egdesh? If you're going to eat something which is shaveh pruta, even if it's not going to be a kezait, you're also going to be chayav to bring a korban me'ilah. Anybody knows what me'ilah is? Me'ilah is that you're not allowed to benefit from kodshim. So to menet mashu shezeh shayach lebet hamikdash, asur lecha lehenot mizeh. Im ata neheneta, if you benefited from something which is from the bet hamikdash, you're chayav korban me'ilah. You're chayav to bring a korban which is me'ilah. What is me'ilah? You're not allowed to benefit from it. So says the Gemara, habayin shaveh pruta. Even by over there, you're going to be chayav a shaveh pruta. Fine. Says the Gemara, vare mefaresh. What about mefaresh? Meaning here you have something which is going to be that if you're going to say shelo ochal kol shehu, right? What does that mean? Right now, the same thing. If you're going to come, you're not going to eat. But he says you're not going to eat anything. When you say the words, I'm not going to eat anything, so it's going to be kol shehu, right? Fine. So he comes and he says, Vare mefaresh. So he says mefaresh is also like a bidya, meaning when a person comes and he has to explain and he has to express that the shevuah is that he's not going to eat anything, that in itself is also going to be a bidya. So says the Gemara, vare afar, meaning that a person swears that he's not going to eat afar. So since it's not ra'ui la'achila, right, we're not going to say that it has to have a shiur of achila. Ella says the Gemara, tifshot by Rava, but we could make the safek of Rava, that if a person comes and he says Shevuah shelo ochal afar, ve'achal. What happens if a person comes and he makes a Shevuah that he's not going to eat afar, right? And now he eats afar. So how much does he have to eat? Tifshot adika gezait. So it comes out that it's going to be until he eats gezait. Yeah? Fine. So he says, exactly, that's why. So that's what we just said now. Ki ka'amrinan b'mid devar achila ka'amrinan. Meaning, when even bemet afar, maybe it's kol shehu, it could be, but nobody eats afar. Nobody eats it. So therefore, you have to say, when did we say that? Did we ever find a shiur of kol shehu that you're going to be chayav only in something which is going to be bar achila? Okay. So the last question, vare kunamot. What about kunamot? Kunam alai kikar zo. that if he's going to come and he's going to eat it, so therefore it's achila kolshu. So he says kunamot is different. But why? Because kunamot is like mefaresh, right? Kunamot also is if a person comes and he puts something in cherem that he's not allowed to benefit from this certain product. That's called kunamot. It's like a neder, but once it's going on a certain product, it's called a kunam. So therefore, in such a case, he's going to be chayav, right, in kolshu. Now the question is why? So we answered, kunamot is like mefaresh, meaning just like we said that if a person said mefurash, that he's not going to eat kol shehu. He makes a shavua. I'm not going to eat kol shehu from this food. So if he doesn't have to eat the kezait, even without the kezait, is going to be chayav. So therefore, the kunamot is like specifying. It's not specifying. It's like specifying. Amar lahen. So Rabbi Akiva comes and he answers them. Meaning, one more time, they came and they started asking the question against Rabbi Akiva, and on each one he had different answers. Now Rabbi Akiva is going to answer to them, and what does he tell them? Right? Kav Bet Amud Aleph 22a. We're on the top, and it says like this: Amar lahen. He comes and he tells them, Hechan matzinu bimdaber umevi korban. Korban. They came and they asked him a question. They told Rabbi Akiva, I don't understand you. Why? How could it be that you're going to be chayav, right, on something if you do such a small amount? So he comes and he already answered. And you know what he answers? He comes and he answers, 1 second. Where did you ever see that somebody is going to be chayav kishu medaber? And he's going to bring a korban. Remember, usually, right, in all the cases of speech, you're not chayav. Why are you not chayav? It's not an action, right? We did see yesterday 3 yotzim min haklal, right, that a person is going to be chayav, right? If you remember on even if they didn't do an action, they're going to be chayav. But the concept of dibur is not usually chayav anything, right? Dibur is not an action. So therefore, he says, where do you see such a thing? So says velo, we do find megadef. Megadef is somebody that does blasphemy. Yeah? No, it's Molamanu 3 different things of Shem Hashem. Right? He did with Shem Hashem, Mekalel, lo Mekalel Shem Hashem. Here's Mekalel. Yeah, but this is Mekalel et Hashem, Chas Shalom. Right? That's what's Megadef. That's what we just said. Megadef is they're actually cursing not somebody else, the Shem Hashem. Right? So here it says Megadef. Megadef is going to be right with the mouth, and still, if a person did it accidentally, because he didn't know it was the name of Hashem or he didn't know what he was doing, so therefore he's going to be chayav korban. So you do see that there does exist a case where a person will be chayav korban, right? Even if the person is going to come and he's going to do it b'dibur. So dibur you are chayav. So answers the Gemara, medaber ve'oser kamrina. We're talking about medaber and he's ringing a korban, because that we've never found, right, on lo yachel devaro. Here, he's going to be over on that which is written in the Torah, so that we did find, right, such a korban, right? So therefore, obviously, this is going to answer also by Shevuot Hayedut to Pikadon or things like that, because also it's the goof of the dibur. So he says, okay, fine. What about Nazir? But a Nazir, right? A Nazir is not allowed to drink wine. He's not allowed to take a haircut. He's not allowed to be Tomemet. Now, all these Isurim is coming through one's speech. So therefore, here he's going to make an isur with his mouth, and then he's going to bring a korban. So you do see that there's going to be halot when you created the isur with your mouth. Meaning, a nazir is a regular person; he's not a kohen. So now, if he's going to come and he's going to become tamimet, they're going to tell him, why is he chayav? Because he's a nazir. How did he become a nazir? Through his mouth. Meaning, his mouth created an isur, and therefore he's going to be chayav through the creation of an isur. And he's going to bring a korban. So he says, Al diburo kamrinan. V'hai mevi korban, leshturi lechamra hu dekamaite. He says, no. Here we're talking about that we've never found an isur to do with a medaber, right? And you're bringing a korban. Here, the reason why you're bringing a korban is to permit you in everything else. Not because you prohibited something else, to permit you in something else. So here, the second you bring the korban, now you're allowed to drink wine, you're allowed to do all the other things of an azir. So says the Gemara, fine. What about Ekdesh? Right? When a person comes and they sanctify, right, properties, right, which is Ekdesh. So the second that a person came and he did it with his mouth, he made something Hekdesh. Now, what happens if he changed and he benefited? So he brings a korban, Mi'ilah. That's how we started off today. Remember, I told you, if you're going to benefit from Kodshim, Right? You're going to benefit from anything which is from the Bet HaMikdash. You have to bring a korban me'ilah. So here also. So answers the Gemara, Oseh la'atzmo ka'amrinan, v'hai oseh la'kol ha'olam kulo. It's completely different. Do you know why? When you come and you say that something's Ekdesh, it belongs to the Bet HaMikdash, it's asur to everybody. It's not only asur to me. It's asur to everybody. So I come and I say that this is Hekdesh. If I come and I say this is Hekdesh, I'm not only that I'm not allowed to use it. He's not allowed to use it. He's not. I was user an kol ha'olam kulo, because once it becomes Hekdesh, it's asur. Here we're not talking about Hekdesh. We're talking about things which you prohibit to yourself through your own speech. You're prohibiting it to yourself and not to everybody else. So the last question, Hare kunamot. Kunamot is on yourself, because kunamot, you're saying that this bread or whatever it is going to be asur to you like a korban. Whenever you prohibit something to you like a korban, it becomes a kunam, right? Because just like it's like you're making like a korban and you're not allowed to benefit from it. So according to this, again, it's going to be only for you. Because kunamot is only for you. It's not for everybody else. So he says, kasava, it comes out that this shita, Rabbi Akiva holds, en mi'ilah by kunamot. There's no mi'ilah by kunamot. Meaning mi'ilah is by everything else, but not by kunam. When a person comes and he makes a kunam, it's not chayav mi'ilah if a person comes afterwards and he benefits from it. So therefore, it comes out that there's going to be a machloka between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan in 3 different agbalot, basically. Okay, as we already mentioned before. Okay, so Amar Rava, machloket bestam. It comes out the machloka between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim is dafka when you made a Shevuos stam, right? That you're not going to eat. Aval b'mefaresh, but if you said mefurash that you're not going to eat kolshu, according to everybody, it's kolshu. Why? Because even according to Chachamim, that they argue on Rabbi Akiva, ata pirashta ve'ata amarta mefurash, that it's going to be b'kolshu. My time, what's the reasoning? Mefaresh nami, because mefaresh is like a birya. Meaning when you come and you say that I'm not going to eat any amount, you made it like a birya. Birya is giving it chashivut. It's making it chashuv. So therefore, when you come and you eat one entity, it's something chashuv, and therefore you're going to be chayav bekolshu. So that's what we said, whether it's going to be a bug, whether it's going to be an almond, and you came and you ate it whole, or anything which is going to be like a birya, it is chashuv in itself. And therefore, since it's going to be chashuv in itself, mefaresh is like a birya. That's the first one. So one more time. First, there's machlokot between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim. According to Rabbi Akiva, on any amount, bekolshu. According to Chachamim, kezait. So the first hagbala, the first limitation that we're going to say is mefaresh. If you're going to come and you're going to be mefaresh and say, Shevuah shelo ochal kolshu, Shevuah that I'm not going to eat any of this. The second that you say the words kolshu, according to everybody, even Hachamim, you're going to be chayav becholshu. Second agbala, Tamar Rava says, machloket b'shelo ochal, aval b'shelo et om ledivra kol becholshu. When a person says, I'm not going to eat, there's a machloket between Hachamim and Rabbi Akiva. According to Chachamim, kezait. According to Rabbi Akiva, becholshu. What happens if he doesn't say, I'm not going to eat? He says, I'm not going to taste. Shelo et om. Not shelo ochal. Shelo et om. When a person says that I'm not going to taste, it's bechol shehu lechu le'alma. Come. Huh? No. Come inside. You have until 8:30. No. Eno domer riyah l'shmiya. Yeah? So he comes and he says like this. He says, right, when it's el shelo et om, it's kolshu. So says the Gemara, pshita, it's going to be obvious, right? Obviously. Why? Because if I say I'm not going to taste, that's already tasting. Anything is tasting. If I'm going to tell you, listen, I didn't eat anything all day. So you understand I didn't have a meal, or maybe even a snack. But if I didn't taste anything, that means I'm tanit. It's completely different, right? Here, it's pshita. She says, no. Mao the tema, I would have thought to say litom nami is kedamri inshi, right? Even, it's like people say, listen, I'm going to taste something. And we know what your tasting is. You know, taste testers. Right? It's like, the people that they go to the ice cream store and they want to say, I want to taste this and taste this, taste this. By the time they finish, they already had like a full ice cream with all the taste testers, right? So that's why nowadays, no. You could only taste one thing. or to don't start coming and tasting, right? Or you go to the stores and they have all the olives, and no, I'm just tasting it. You come, you tasted the entire thing. You already had everything. It doesn't work. So Kamashmalan comes to teach you that really be'emet when he says litom, it's really be'emet, it's kolshu. So that was the second Agbala. Be'emet? Lo yidati. Okay, very good. Number 3. Okay. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, machloket, another machloket between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim is in Shavuot. Any type of a Shavua. Aval bekunamot. But when it's going to be a kunam, ledivre akol bechol shu. My time, what's the reasoning? Kunamot nami, kivne lukam medaber, right, shemada achila, since you're not coming and saying, right, the concept of achila, kede mefaresh nami, it's like mefaresh. So 3 different opinions, right? Not 3 different opinions, 3 different limitations where the rabbis are going to agree to Rabbi Akiva that there's going to be 3 exceptions to the rule, that also it's going to be a sur bechol shu. Number 1, mefaresh. Number 2, shelo et om, that I'm not going to taste. And number 3, kunamot. Because the kunam is going to be like it's your mefaresh. So it's going back. So technically it's only 2 limitations, but it's saying that the kunam is like mefaresh, which is like the first one. Okay? Fine. Meitvei. We're going to ask the following question. Shene kunamot mitztarfin. Shte shevuot en mitztarfin. Rabbi Meir omer kunamot kishvuot. Meaning like this. Imagine you have 2 kunamot. So you went and you put 2 kikarot, which are going to be a sur, right, to you. Okay, fine. Now what happens is you ate b'mezid a little bit of this one and a little bit of that one. Yeah, a little bit of both of them. So shne kunamot mitztarfin for a kazait, right? But shte shevuot are not going to be mitzaref for a kazait. So one more time, everyone's with me. Let's pretend this is solids, because if you get into liquids, it becomes more complicated with Ravit. But let's just pretend it's 2 solids. I come and I say, this is going to be a kunam. So remember, when I say it's a kunam, it means that it's going to be a sur to me like a korban. Then I come and I say, this is going to be a kunam. So now I've got 2 kunamot. So for me to be chayav a korban, I have to have a kezait, but not of each, they combine for a kezait. So I could have half a kezait here, half a kezait here, 3/4, 1/4, 1/4, 3/4, any combination that you want, but 2 kunamot mitztarfin for a kezait. And then I'm going to be chayav. Okay. The next part said, shte shevuot. I didn't make a kunamot each. I went Shevuah that he's not going to eat this one, Shevuah that he's not going to eat this one. Now it's not mitzaref, meaning that in order for me to be chayav, I need to eat a full kazait of one of them. Right? No, if you eat a kazait of each, you're going to be chayav too, because it's 2 different entities. We're talking about that you only eat 1 kazait, but I have to eat 1 kazait of one of them, right? Doesn't matter which one, in order to be chayav. Rabbi Meir says, kunamot are like shevuot. So the kunamot are exactly like shevuot, which means that it's not going to be mitztarfim. So one more time. So it comes out that there's going to be a machloket Tanakama Rabbi Meir. Does kunamot mitzaref or not? According to everybody, shevuot is not mitzaref. The question is about kunamot. According to Tanakama, kunamot is mitzaref. According to Rabbi Meir, it's not mitzaref. As a Gemara Visal Kadait, now if you're going to tell me that you're going to be chayav bechol shu, lama li litzaref? Why in the world do I have to be mitzaref anything? If you tell me that kunamot are going to be a sur in any amount because I made it like a korban, so therefore the second that I come and I taste it, it's like mefaresh. I'm coming and I'm saying that it's going to be a sur in anything. So what do I need? No, you're mitzaref this with this and that. Don't be mitzaref anything. A sur bechol shu. You tasted it. Which one? So listen to what he says. He answers, Kigon, we're talking about the Amar, Achila mizo alai kunam. And then he said, Achila mizo alai kunam. Since he did mention the word Achila, so now it's a kazait. Meaning, right, Until now, we were talking about kunamot. What is kunam? Kunam is basically just saying, this is a sur to me like a kunam. Did I mention the word achila? No. So therefore, asur b'chol shu. But what happens if I said, achila zo alai kunam? He mentioned the word achila. The second that he mentioned the word achila is a kazait. That means even though he's saying it's a kunam, you're right, it's a sur to you like a korban. But you said kazait. You said achila. Achila equals kazait. And therefore, in such a case, that's what we were talking about. Does it mitzaref or not mitzaref? So says the Gemara, Ihachi if so, am I mitzarfot? 1 second. So he says, so why then is mitzaref? If you're going to tell me that we're talking about, that you mentioned the word achila, so why is it going to be mitzaref? Sof lehacha lekashiura, v'zilahacha lekashiura, meaning each one in its own does not have a shiur. So if each one in its own does not have a shiur, so why in the world am I going to be mitzaref? If I went and I said achila zo, that means I have to eat from this akazait, right? It's like to me a korban. And achila zo has to be so why in the world are you going to be mitzaref even according to Tanakama? So he says the Amar, he says achila mishtehen alai kunam. He says the achila from both of them, right? Meaning he didn't say achila zo, but then it's not mitzaref for sure. I said achila mishtehen from both of them is going to be alai akunam. Because if I would do the same thing by Shavuot, Amar Shavua shelo ochal mishtehen, amay mitzarfin. So why be'emet you're not going to be mitzaref? Right? Obviously, it should be the same thing. Meaning, what's the difference now between kunamot and between Shavuot? So Amar of Pinchas says of Pinchas, Shane Shavuot, it's different Shavuot, mitoch shechalukot chataot and mitzarfin. When you do a Shavua, and then you come and you do another Shavua, at the end of the day, he comes and he says, it's chalukot to the chataot, which means you're going to be chayav a chatat on each one on its own. But you're not going to do that, right? How do you call this? Not by kunamot. Kunamot, if you did it, it's only going to be one asham milot. And therefore, there's no difference between the two of the kikarot. So there's a difference between Shavuot and kunamot. Here, it becomes now the kunamot is more mekel than Shevuot. Shevuot, you would have to bring two different korbanot. The kunamot, you only bring one korban. If so, Rabbi Meir says kunamot is like Shevuot. Bishlama Shevuot, hoil v'chaluko lechataot. Ela kunamot amay lo. If you remember, we said at the beginning that a kunam was more strict than a Shavua. Because a kunam was bechol shu, and a Shavua was not kol shu. Right? It was bekezait. Right? You wrote that down. Yohan, one more time. Kunamot is asur bechol shehu. זאת אומרת שאפילו לפי שיטת חכמים, אסור בכל שהוא. השבועות is דווקא באכילה. אכילה equals a kazait. Now we came and we said that there's another חומרה, the other way around. ונהפוך הוא. ששבועות יותר חמור מקונמות. Why? Because שבועות, you're chayav two different korbanot. On the kunam, you would only be chayav one korban. So if it's going to be, yeah, exactly. So therefore, if a person came and they said, right, that's what we just said. We said, mitoch shechalukot lechataot. So if a person came and he says, shelo ochal mizo umizo, and he ate a kazait from each one, yeah, he did a shivua. Shelo ochal mizo, and he was over and he ate a kazait, mikikar zo and kazait mikikar acher, he's going to be shte korbanot. Legabe kunamot, if he said achila mizo like konam, so whether he came and he actually did a b'shogeg or not, we only give him an asham ilot, which is going to be one, right? One asham ilot. Zot omer korban echad l'shtehem. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, yeah. Don't quit your day job, yeah. So he comes and he says like this. He says epuch. Yeah, he comes and he says, right, epuch. What does that mean? He says Rabbi Meir says Shevuot is like kunamot. And he does not hold of the svara of Rabbi Pinchas, but he holds that even though if a person came and he made a vow, mizo, right, and he's going to eat them, you're going to be chayav two chataot. Nevertheless, if he came and he ate a kazait between both of them, he's only going to be chayav on the kazait, and therefore he's not going to be chayav two different korbanot. That was the first answer that we just answered. So it's the exact opposite, right? Ravina comes and he says, Ki ka'amar Rav Papa, when does Rav Papa come and he say that the kunamot are going to be chiyuv bechol shehu? Linyan malkut, to do with malkut. Kitanya he, when do we learn over there? He says linyan korban, to do with korban. Right? The ba'inan shaveh pruta, that you need a shaveh pruta. Yeah? Close the door. Yeah? So he comes and he says like this. He says, we're talking about now lashes. Right? Now we're talking about the korban that we need shaveh pruta. So he comes and he says, right, that there's not going to be a chiyuv of a shami'ilot. Okay? Lemeimra, are you going to tell me now that Savri Rabbanan, that according to Rabbanan, yesh mi'ila bekunamot? That there's going to be mi'ila in kunamot? Right? He says, Vatanya, we learned in the Braita, kikar, right, ekdesh. Kikar zo ekdesh. When a person comes and he says, this kikar is going to be ekdesh. Va'achala, and he eats it. Ben hu, ben chavero. Whether it's going to be the makdish itself, or somebody else ate it. It's mi'ila. Lefichach, and therefore, right? Yesh la pidyon. There's going to be, you could actually redeem it, right, with money. Kikar zo alay ekdesh. If he says that this is going to be ekdesh, right? So he comes and he says, humal, right? V'chavero lo mal. He did milah, but not his friend. Lefichach, because he wasn't over on the neder. Lefichach, and therefore, en la pidyon. There's no pidyon. Divrei Rabbi, according to Rabbi, meaning according to Ravina, it comes out that according to the Tanakama, the Braita, the two kikarot are mitztarfot to a shaveh pruta to be mitchayev korban mi'ilah. So the Gemara is going to ask why. There's going to be a difference, right, by kunamot. Is there mi'ilah by kunamot or not? So we already spoke about this. We said, is there mi'ilah by kunamot? Meaning, are you allowed to benefit from kunamot? So the Tanakama holds there is mi'ilah in kunamot. So he says, is that true? It says, if you say that this kikar is going to be ekdesh, and anybody ate it, there's mi'ilah, and therefore there's pidyon. But if you're going to say this kikar is going to be on you ekdesh, which is kikar zo alai ekdesh, not that this kikar is ekdesh. This kikar is going to be for me ekdesh, so it's mi'ilah for him, not for anybody else. So therefore there's not going to be pidyon. Chachamim omrim kavet amud bet 22b. Chachamim come and they say benuhu ben chavero, whether it's going to be him or his friend, lo ma'al. There's no mi'ilah. If he she'en mi'ilah bekunamot, because there's not going to be mi'ilah in kunamot. So it comes out there's a machloket between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim. Is there mi'ilah in kunamot? Because this Braita is coming and telling you that according to Ravina and Chachamim, that we're saying kunamot mitzarfim. So he says, 1 second. But how are they mitzarfim to do with the korban mi'ilah? We say that there's no mi'ilah in korbanot, right? Meaning that if you're going to benefit from a kunamot, there's no korban. You don't bring a korban. So says the Gemara, you're right. Epuch, you have to switch it around. Echad zeh ve'echad zeh, whether it's going to be that he ate it or somebody else ate it, lo ma'al. There's no mi'ilah, right? He says why? Lefi she'en mi'ilah bekunamot, because there's no mi'ilah in kunamot. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim come and they say, hum al, v'chavero lo ma'al. Meaning that if he ate it, so therefore he did the mi'ilah, because there's mi'ilah in kunamot, but the friend is not mi'ilah, right? So according to this girsa, that Chachamim of Rabbi Meir in both Braitot is that there is mi'ilah in kunamot, and not that there's no mi'ilah in kunamot. So he says, if so, Rabbi Meir Omer kunamot are like Shevuot, el kunamot itztarufu u'lo mitztarfe, hami'ilah itbu. V'amar Rabbi Meir, emi'ilah bekunamot klal. He says, 1 second. Now you remember that we already flipped it. And we said that kunamot are like Shevuot, right? Now he says, but if you're going to tell me now kunamot is going to be like Shevuot, kunamot are going to be not going to be mitzaref, right? Because that's what remember, according to the girsa that we said that kunamot is like Shevuot, just like Shevuot it's not mitzaref, so to kunamot is not mitzaref. But according to that, mi'ilah it's mashma. There is mi'ilah. You just told me there's no mi'ilah according to Rabbi. So says the Gemara, ledivrehen d'Rabbanan kamarlu. Really, be'emet, they're going according to Shitav the Chachamim. Ledidi, according to me, there's no mi'ilah bekunamot at all. But according to you, odulimiat, you do have to be modeh that kunamot are going to be like Shevuot. So therefore, it is going to have mi'ilah. So he says, but the rabbis, Shevuot, ikad Rav Pinchas, kunamot, lekad Rav Pinchas. Meaning, according to the shita of the rabbis, They hold that by Shevuot, you're going to be chayav 2 different chataot. And therefore, since you're going to be chayav 2 different chataot, it's not mitzaref. If I'm going to say that if I would eat from both of them, I'm going to be chayav 2 different chataot. Both of them what? If I'm going to eat the 2 different cups, the 2 different Shevuot, right? Remember, the 2 different cups, the 2 different Shevuot. So I'm not going to be mitzaref because since it's 2 different chataot, I cannot be mitzaref together because they're 2 separate entities. One is one chatat, one is another chatat. But to do the kunamot, he comes and he says, it's not the reasoning of Rabbi Pinchas because by kunamot they are going to be chalukot b'shum davar, and therefore they are going to be mitzarfot, right? Also lashlim et hashiur because we don't hold of Rabbi Pinchas. So he comes and he says, okay, fine. So Amar Rava comes out then, right? Now we're going to say the following then. Shivua shelo ochal ve'achal afar. What happens if a person comes and he says, Shivua that he's not going to eat? Now he ate something which is not normal for people to eat. He ate afar. So it's going to be patur. So by Rava says, Shivua shelo ochal afar. What happens if he says mefurash, I'm not going to eat afar? So bekama, how much does he have to eat? Kevin damar shelo ochal, since he said lo ochal, it has to be a kazait. Or dimar maybe Kevin the love b'nei dachle anin shehu bechol shu, right? Nobody eats it. So for I don't need a kazait. Maybe it's bemet bechol shu. Says the Gemara, teku. I don't have an answer. Why? Because really bemet it could be any amount, right? Because it's not normal to eat. When I come and I say I'm not going to eat this, it means that I'm not going to eat a kazait. But when I come and I'm going to eat dirt, since when do you eat dirt? So for even tasting it, that's already going to be an isur. So teku, we don't have an answer. So by Rava asks, Shivua shelo ochal chartzan. What happens if a person comes and he says he's not going to eat chartzan? Chartzan are the pits of the grapes, right? Garine, right? So he comes and he says, bekama. So he says, how many of these pits does he have to eat? So kevan mitachel alidei tarovet. Since he's going to come and he's going to eat with the tarovet, which means it's going to be mixed with the grapes. Taita kezait, so it means the kezait. Or dilma maybe, since it's not normal that people are going to eat these, so therefore it's on anything, on any amount, just like the same question that we asked by the Afar. Answers the Gemara, teku, the same thing. By Ravashi. Ravashi is going to come and he's going to ask a third question. Nazir she'amar shivua shelo ochal chartzan. Remember that a Nazir is not allowed to eat mechartzanim ve'adzag, whether from the peels until the pits, and nothing. He's not allowed to eat either or. So he comes and he says, right, shivua shelo ochal chartzan bekama. Since if he eats a kazait, it's isur doraita. So when he made the shivua hetera kimishtava, he made the shivua on the heter. Vedatea mashu. So therefore it's going to be a mashu. Well, Dilma, maybe since he said lo ochal, it means only on kazait. So tashema, here we wanted to bring a proof. Shivua shelo ochal ve'achal, right? And what happens now if he ate nevelotu trefot shkasim u'masim? He's going to be chayav. Rabbi Shimon says he's going to be patur. Why? Because he's already mushva ve'omer me'ar Sinai. So we said, why are you going to be chayav? Mushba v'omer me'ar Sinai. So Rav Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, Damer Tavayu, bekolel dvarim muterim dvarim asurim. You remember we mentioned this. Isur kolel. Isur kolel means that you're going to add on something of a heter to the isur. As long as you added on something of a heter to the isur, it's like migu, that just like it was chal on the heter, it's also going to be chal al ha'isur. So the mere kamosh is a chal al heter, is a chal al ha'isur. Right? Because remember, usually any sur chalal sur. Right? That's what we're saying over here. Everyone understood the concept. If I'm already have a shavua, right? So therefore, I don't need another isur. Somebody has allegiance to their country, and now all of a sudden he vows that he pledges allegiance to his country. He already has that allegiance to the country, so it's not. You don't need it, right? It's like you already mushba ve'omer me'ar Sinai. You already have a shavua from Har Sinai. You don't need that. I don't need you to make a shivua for that. You're already there. You already made the shivua. And shivua chala shivua. There's no shivua chala another shivua. But what happens if I added on to it? I added on to the shivua. The shivua was I'm not allowed to eat a kezait of nevelot to trufot shkatzim masim. And now I come and I make a shivua. I'm not allowed to even taste it. So once I made it on a heter, it's going to add on that it's also now a shivua also on the isur. Beforehand, if I only made a shivua on the isur, it doesn't add anything. So if it doesn't add anything, there's nothing what I did. It was superfluous what I just did. Extra, you don't need it. But the second I added on something of a heter, Now, just like it was chal ala heter, it's going to be chal also on the isur. So now when you come and you have the isur, it's also going to be asur. But as Shakish says, either we're talking about the you were mefaresh and you said chetzi shiur according to Rabbanan, or bestam and according to Rabbi Kiva. Because he says Adam said at small becholshu, because he says the person will always prohibit himself on any amount, because he's not mushba ve'omer on any amount, he's only a mushba ve'omer on a kazait. He says, 1 second, but the nevela is like the chichartzan legabe nazir damya. So the nevela is like a chartzan. What does that mean? Tama the parish only because he mentioned it, but if he didn't mention it, it's going to be a kazait. So shema mina, we learn from here that really be'emet it should only be a kazait. It was only on a kazait or more. So now the Gemara is going to be mistapek with 3 things, right? Remember, one more time. We were mistapek if somebody was swearing not to eat afar, and now he's going to eat afar. How much is the shiur? Second one was somebody that swears not to eat chartzanim. What is the shiur? Right? And again, we didn't have an answer. And the first one also we didn't have an answer. Right? And the last one, right, which is a nazir that swore not to eat chartzanim. Right? Is he different from everybody else? According to Rabbi Shakish, he just said that it's going to be like everybody else. So now the Gemara is going to say, "Ela tifshot by Rava shevua shelo ochal afar bekama." So tifshot the adi kazait. You need a kazait. Why? Nivela is like an afar. And it's only because you explained it. You said how much you're going to eat, but if you didn't explain, so it's always going to be a kazait. So says the Gemara, no. Afar, it's not edible. Lav barachila uklal. And nivela, you could eat it. However, though the Torah prohibited it. Meaning not, nivela is a regular animal. It's a kosher animal. The only difference is that it died without shchita. But it's the exact same thing as any other animal. It's a kosher animal. So therefore, he comes and he says there, it was the Torah that prohibited it. He said, afar, it's not edible, it's not edible at all. It's inedible. So therefore, it's a completely different. So you cannot compare one thing to another thing. Okay? Fine. Mishnah, kavbet amubet. Yeah. Shevuah shelo ochal. Right? If a person comes and he does a shevuah that he's not going to eat. Eno chaya, right? Ve'achal v'shata. Now he ate and he drank. Somebody asked me before, does eating and drinking combine? I don't remember who it was. Somebody asked it. So he says, Eno chayav ela achat. He's only going to be chayav 1. Why? Because since he ate, he said, achilan shtiya b'lashon echad, so therefore it's only 1 shevuah. But if he says shevuah shelo ochal v'shelo eshteh, however, if he made a shevuah mefurash, and he's not going to eat, and then he says, and he's not going to drink. So now achal v'shata, he's going to be chayav shtayim. It's 2 different avirot. Yeah? So fine. Shevuah shelo ochal ve'achal. If a person comes and he makes a shevuah that he's not going to eat, and he ate pat chitin, upat seorin, upat kusmin. So he ate all the different types of breads. He ate spelt, he ate wheat, he ate barley. Right? Eno chayav ela achat. He's only going to be chayav 1. Right? Why? Because he ate. He says, but if he said shevuah that he's not going to eat pat chitin, pat seorin, pat kusmin, so then he's going to, and he ate all 3 of them, he's going to be chayav al kol ahad ve'achad. Shevuah shelo eshteh. Shevuah that he's not going to drink. Right? So, you don't have a Gemara? He says, Shevuah shelo eshteh, v'shata, and he drank. Mashkin arbe, he drank a lot of different liquids. He's only going to be chayav 1. If he says, Shevuah shelo eshteh, yain v'shemen udvash, Shevuah that he's not going to drink wine, oil, and honey, and then he did drink each one of them, it's going to be chayav al kol achad v'achad. Shevuah shelo ochal, ve'achal ochlin she'enu milachaleh. Imagine he says Shevuah that he's not going to eat, and then he ate afar. He ate afar. V'shata mashkin, or he drank drinks which are not fitting for thing. Patur, he's going to be patur. Shevuah shelo ochal ve'achal nevelot torot v'tzubastim, he's going to be chayav. Rabbi Shimon says he's going to be patur. Why? Again, en shevuah achal el shevuah, he's already mushba ve'omed. Amar kunam ishti ne'enet li. He comes and he says that his wife is going to be, right, asur to him, right? That means she's not allowed to come to benefit from him like a korban. So he comes and he says she's not allowed to benefit. Yeah? She's not allowed to benefit anything from his. Nothing. So all of a sudden now the house is under his name. She has to leave the house. The food is his. She cannot eat the food. And she's asura to him like a kurban, which means she's not allowed to benefit from him at all. Imachalti ayom, if he ate today, then vuachal, and then he ate. But what did he eat? She's not allowed to benefit from him, right? Just like the neder. Says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Chia Shevuot. This is Shevuot. We spoke about it in Nazir as well, but this is Shevuot. But this is the Mekor Din from Shevuot. He's making a kunam. Amar Rabbi Chia. That halakha, yes. This from here. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Avi name Shmuel. It says Rabbi Chia bar Avi name Shmuel. Shevuah shelo ochal v'shata. Right? Chayav. Imagine a person comes and he says Shevuah that he's not going to eat, but then he only drank. He's going to be chayav. And he says, I could learn it from a svara, or I could learn it from the Torah. I could learn it from a svara. Because somebody says, Nito midi, we're going to eat something, taste something. And then they go and they eat and drink. So you see from here, the B'lashon Adam, shtiya is also achila. No, even for this, anything. If you want, you could say it's a pasuk. The pasuk says shtiya bichlal achila. Adam shakish minayin l'shtiya shi bichlal. How do you know? Shneimar ve'achalti lifnei Hashem lokecha b'makom asher yivchar l'shekel shlosham ma'asar deganecha tiroshecha v'yitzarecha. The tirosh is wine, and it says ve'achalta. You're going to eat. Tirosh, the make. There's a make tirosh, which is wine. Tirosh is wine. So therefore, the fact that it says ve'achalta, you're going to eat, and it's talking about wine. You see from here, the wine is called eating, meaning drinking is called eating. So it's a pasuk, and that's where we learn it from.